A Dallas sportscaster's video on the Parkland, Florida school shooting has gone absolutely viral. Dale Hansen of WFAA made about a 90-second video that I've seen personally retweeted about 350,000 times, and the video I saw has been viewed more than 12.4 million times. So this has gotten some serious traction. And I made a video a lot like this after the Vegas shooting on Jimmy Kimmel's response to the shooting. And this video, again, let me say this before we get started. This is not in defense of guns. This is not attacking anti-gun people. This video is simply to present facts and information to people when the person's response failed to do so. Dale Hansen's video is irresponsible, and honestly, it's just flat out wrong. So we're going to break down the video right here.
And everybody sends their thoughts and prayers again because that works so well.
This is one of my favorite current takes of this whole thing, is the save your thoughts and prayers kind of low-hanging fruit. Basically, where is your God now? That's right, Christians. You should feel partly at blame here. Your silly conservative beliefs and faith got these children murdered. Way to go, Christians.
This is the 18th high school shooting in America this year, and we have 10 and a half months to go.
That 18 school shootings in 2018 statistic is the single most misleading part of this video, and really one of the main reasons I made this response video. When you hear 18 school shootings, what do you think? You think active shooter, right? Walking around the hallways. You think kids in classrooms, right? You think school is in session, right? Well, I do too. But that's not exactly what we're talking about here. Now, good old Dale doesn't want you to know that. Good old Dale doesn't mention that the 18 number is a little off. The criteria for this statistic is any time a live round is fired in a school building or on a school campus anywhere in America. Kids do not have to be present. The school does not have to be in session. It does not have to be during the week. As long as a live round is fired on a school campus, this goes into this statistic. The statistic was so widely spread that Wednesday night, the night of the shooting, if you type the numbers 18 into Google search, the first thing that prompts is 18 school shootings in 2018. Here are a few details from those 18 shootings. An Oxon Hill High School junior was shot twice in a school parking lot during what police say was an attempted robbery. The 17-year-old later recovered. The shooting took place on school grounds, but after school hours. A 12-year-old student at Salvador B. Castro Middle School was charged with negligent discharge of a firearm after a semi-automatic rifle she brought to school went off. A third grader at Harmony Learning Center pressed the trigger on a school liaison officer's gun. Although the weapon was outfitted with a trigger guard, it discharged and hit the floor. A student at Grayson College picked up a gun belonging to an advisor. She discharged the weapon, believing it was not loaded, and shot through a wall. A 31-year-old man died by suicide in the parking lot of East Olive Elementary School. There were no students or staff at the scene because the school had been closed for 7 months. Out of those 18 school shootings, 9 reported no injuries at all. Out of the 9 with injuries, 2 were suicides. Out of the remaining 7 cases with injuries, 3 happened outside of schools. Out of those remaining 4, 2 had casualties. See how that number's a little fishy when you really look into it? Now, Dale doesn't want you to know that. Just remember, 18 school shootings in 2 months.
If it was a Muslim or a Mexican doing the shooting, how many new laws and how much money would we spend then to stop the madness?
Race somehow comes into play here. I'm not sure how. Dale is insinuating 2 things in this situation. 1, that white people are committing these mass shootings, and 2, there's a serious double standard. Now let's see what Dale had to say whenever cops were killed in a protest in his own city of Dallas last year.
The Rangers lost to Minnesota last night, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you I know that. I'm in my office watching the game, and then all hell breaks loose in our city. Reporters at our newsroom were scrambling, producers were yelling. We turned off the lights just in case, and I kept watching the game. It was another shooting in America. It was in our city this time, and police officers were being killed, but it was a couple of blocks away, and the Rangers were being shut out. This is what I have become.
Interesting. Not one mention of gun laws in this article. Not one mention of banning guns or that guns may have stopped this killings. Dale, don't you think that stricter gun laws would have also stopped these killings? Now let's look at the Muslim side of Dale's argument. Obviously, the most infamous attack on American soil for Muslims is 9/11. Where they used box cutters, bombs, and planes. I don't remember anybody saying we should ban planes after 9/11. When 3,000 Americans were killed that September morning, people didn't ask how they did it, they asked why they did it. More recently, we've had multiple attacks using vehicles, like the one in New York in October 2017, which killed 8 people. Again, not how they killed, no bans on cars, but why they did it.
But since it's almost always a white kid, there's just nothing we can do.
Let's take a look at the top 5 deadliest mass shootings in American history. Here are the perpetrators. Nice broad stroke there, Dale. Imagine saying this sentence with any other race. I mean, this is just reckless racism. This is just wrong.
Australia had 4 mass shootings between 87 and 96. They passed stricter gun laws and haven't had a single mass shooting since.
The Australia comparison is something you'll see a lot in gun conversations. What they don't tell you is that the Australian culture, when it comes to violence, is very different than America. Did you know at times it has been illegal to buy games such as Grand Theft Auto in Australia? America has a real problem culturally, glorifying things such as murder, violence, sexuality, and death. It is everywhere and very, very accessible. Anyone that has a video game, music, TV, tickets to a movie, YouTube, they can find violence very quickly. They can find death very, very quickly. Just look at Logan Paul's situation. Americans are desensitized to death, and in return, the value of life drops astronomically.
Last time I said we need to find a way to stop a nut with a gun, and that's all I said, I get an email saying, I'm saving my last bullet to put it right between your eyes. Just another responsible gun owner in America, and I'm taking all bets he's a white guy. Almost always a white kid, he's a white guy.
It's kind of interesting that Dale paints with such broad brushes during his video, but he doesn't talk about the one thing that all of these mass shooters share. Spoiler alert, it's not that they're white. In the months before his deadly rampage, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock was a man descending into madness, according to a person briefed on new findings in the investigation. According to the documents, Cho had been admitted overnight to the hospital's psych ward after his roommate became concerned when Cho threatened to take his own life. Lanza struggled with mental illness, a history of obsessive-compulsive behaviors, and a fascination with mass shootings. The gunman who killed more than 24 people in a small church outside San Antonio on Sunday had a string of troubling episodes in recent years, including an escape from a mental health facility in 2012 after he was caught sneaking guns onto an Air Force base attempting to carry out death threats. Everyone knew Nicholas Cruz was deeply disturbed. He'd been in and out of mental health treatment. He'd been kicked out of school. His Instagram page was full of photos of dead animals and weapons. Again, I'm not trying to tell you to go join the NRA. I don't own any guns. I have shot guns exactly once in my life, and that was on a very brief hunting trip. I'm just trying to give you the information that these videos and these big media people are not giving you. They're not doing the research. They're just offering you these huge broad strokes, these huge numbers with absolutely no backing at all. And it blows my mind when I see people on Facebook or Twitter, especially celebrities, people with a huge reach, just blindly retweeting these things, just blindly throwing 18 shootings, just throwing that number out there. It's very dangerous to do that kind of stuff. Should there be serious, strict gun laws? Yes, of course there should be. Is there also a mental health problem going on? Yes. Dale Henson's video is disappointing. And honestly, it's the reason that I left the world of newsrooms and left the worlds of media like this. I've seen this a million times, where people like Dale Henson's getting applauded probably in the newsroom for big numbers, social media growth, huge exposure, but no ethics at all. Dale, your video is full of deceit. It's full of false claims. It's full of scorching hot takes, but it lacks a moral backbone. You skirted any research on the topic. You chose emotion over information. You chose passion over facts. You owe the people who watched your video an apology, Dale. My video will not reach 350,000 retweets. My video will not get 12.5 million views. But when I lay my head down at night, I can say that I offered the people an unbiased video on this topic with information and facts. Can you do that, Dale?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.